I carried a secret within me for many years. I destroyed my life because of that secret, and I found myself with a child of 2 years old, homeless and alone. Growing up, I had a secret within me. I was molested at the age of 7 years old while Lisa was in the care of my grandparents. I carried this until the age of 21 when I came to the UK. I was angry. I was bitter within myself against my family, especially my grandparents, and I had so much grudges. As a result, I lost hope in life, and then I started partying. I started drinking alcohol. I would drink a lot. I would go as far as Scotland for alcohol, chasing parties, looking for happiness. I would go clubbing and end up the following morning in bed with the next person. And eventually I got into a relationship which I thought that was everything for me. I ended up having a child. But in that relationship, because I was empty, I was lonely, the relationship wasn't enough. I ended up destroying the relationship because of my attitudes, my neediness, my behavior. He asked me to leave the house. He was his. I ended up homeless. At that time, I didn't have my documentation in the country, my stay. So I struggled.
As she was living at the hostel, you could tell her demeanor was, she was sad, but she would always put up a front of somebody who's happy and she can manage. The living environment was not good. For somebody with a young baby of 2 years old, that wasn't a good living environment at all. She wasn't willing to accept any help from anyone. Shami was always somebody that wanted to be independent and do things her own way.
Through that time, I got worse within myself. Now it was more of looking at my child with negative eyes. I resented my own life. I resented my family. I resented my grandparents. And then what made it even worse for me is when my parents, my father and my mother, then died. I even had more grudges against my grandfather. I just hated everybody. And most importantly, most of all, I hated myself. Even though I was suffering so much and I was having so much pain inside of me and I didn't know what to do with it, at the time, my hairdresser, she would give me the newspaper to read from the Universal Church. Once she was there, she was doing my hair, I read a story and it was my life. And I said to her, okay, I'll come today. I was coming to the church. What was holding me back was the pride. So I was within the church, but very divided, not taking things that I was learning seriously, not putting it into practice. The grudges, the resentment, the bitterness, all those things were still within me. I stopped coming. And then I went back to the relationship again, and things got worse. I was kicked out again. And then at that time, one of my sister's friends then contacted me and said, we missed you in the church. So when she said that, I said, I'm coming on Sunday. The pastor said to me, do you believe in God? And at that time, I had heard about God, but I didn't believe. And he said, now tell me your story. So I said my whole story. And he said to me, now you're going to go back to the council, and by my faith, you're going to go back and you're going to ask, now let's put God to test. The council said to me, okay, we will give you somewhere to stay. And when I saw that, I was like, this God that this man is talking about, I want to keep going. One day I was in a service. The Holy Spirit used the pastor to speak about, you could be here. If you don't have the Spirit of God, you're not his. That moment, I was in the service and I heard that, and then I left. I got home and I remember writing down a letter to God saying, this is who I am. I don't want to be like this, and I want your spirit. If I'm hearing about your spirit, I want it as well. When I was writing, I released everything. I went back to the service the next time, and I would see testimonies in the campaign of faith. I would see testimonies, and I was like, if their lives are changing, I'm sure my life can also change. And from there, I started taking part in the campaigns of faith. I also realized I needed to empty myself, and I climbed the altar. I poured out everything. I let go of the thoughts, the feelings of being molested. I forgave everyone. I forgave myself. Lastly, I surrendered my pride and the dependence that I had. I said, my God, I am yours. And from now, you do what you want to do with me. And from there, I left the altar with, I am with you until the end. And I thought, that's it. And I had so much peace. I started loving myself. I started looking at people with different eyes. I stopped being critical of myself, critical of others. I started seeing the results of my campaign of faith. Using my faith, I now have a better relationship with my sister. I now have a better relationship with my ex, my daughter's father. I love saving souls. I love being used by God, and I see the results of my obedience, and I see the results of trusting God and knowing that, you know what, nothing matters than the Holy Spirit. Everything else I can lose, but having the Holy Spirit sustains me.
Shami, after the Holy Spirit, is a different Shami from the Shami that I know. She is a woman of faith, somebody who, encourages others. The Holy Spirit has obviously transformed Shami inside out. She takes joy in whatever she does. Even when she faces difficulties now, she faces them with a different attitude than she would before.
Now I'm no longer homeless. I have a roof over my head. I have a home. I have a job, and I'm doing well at work. I have a good relationship with my family. I enjoy my sister's company, even my siblings back home. My life has turned around. Above everything, I'm happy with the Spirit of God that sustains me.